Hey guys, in this video the brilliant Mr. B is going to be taking you through 3D shapes. So lots of different shapes that you're going to come across in your maths and 15 examples of working you through these at a nice pace so that you don't feel rushed. If you want more examples to practice on, then there are thousands just waiting for you on my website.
We're going to have a look at 3 different things we can do with 3D shapes, and the first is sketching 3D shapes. And for this, you're going to have to memorize the different definitions. Now, the first question says sketch a cuboid. So with all of these, you have to think about what 2D shape is the base for the 3D shape. For a cuboid, it's got that word kind of cube at the front, and cubes are a 3D shape that have a square for every single face. So there's something about squares with this. So we can start off by sketching a square. So we want 2 sides of equal length that are parallel to each other. And just try and space them out, just kind of by eye how far apart you think that's going to be to make the next set of lines equal, which will be the top and the bottom. Again, they're parallel to each other, and they should be the same length as the left and right sides. Squared paper would make this very easy to do. So we've kind of got the kind of cube part of this sourced out with the square. Now, it's not a cube, it's a cuboid, and so a cuboid is kind of a stretched out cube. So the trick now is we want to draw some diagonal lines. I'm going to do it from every single corner. So from the top corner, I'm going to draw a diagonal line going back, and this is the depth of the shape. And do a parallel line to that from the next corner, and have it be the same length. Then go to the next corner, and again, try and make it as parallel as possible. It is a sketch, doesn't have to be perfect. And then once you've done 3, what you can do then is join them together. And again, make sure it's nice and parallel to the sides you've already drawn. So you can have 3 steps there. You're going to draw the square, the kind of base shape that you have at the front. Then you join the diagonal lines from every corner, and then you join those up. You can have one last step, which is to draw the lines at the back. Now we can use dotted lines for this, and what you want to do, that 4th corner we didn't do a parallel line for, we are going to do one for it now. So it's going to be parallel still. It's going behind the shape, so we'll do a dotted line, and so that's parallel. It's about the same length, and then again we can join it up to the other corners. And this is helpful because it gives you a kind of bit of visualization about what's going on around the back of the shape. And you can kind of use this to help you see how many faces the shape have, which will be important for the medium questions. Moving on to question 2, we have a pentagonal prism. So again, your first job is to think about what is the base 2D shape here. So pentagonal, pentagon, we're going to be drawing a pentagon. Now again, it's a sketch. It doesn't say it's a regular pentagon, but we'll try and draw it as regular as possible. So for a pentagon, we can draw kind of a triangle for the top. Then we want to have those 2 points come down, diagonal towards the middle, and then we'll have the base. And I'll just clean that up by just making the lines a little bit bolder. And you can use a pencil and rubber to clean this up if you need to. Now you've drawn a pentagon. This shape is a prism. And so prisms always have the same method. So I'll just highlight a pentagonal prism in green to show it's a prism. And the other shape that's a prism here is the cuboid. It doesn't have prism in the name, but you could think of it as a kind of rectangular prism. And so we're going to use the same method we used with the cuboid. So from every single corner, I'll start at the top. We're going to draw a diagonal line off to the side. And then from every corner, we're going to draw a line that's parallel and the same length, or as close as you can get it sketching freehand. If you want to be extra accurate, you can use a ruler here and try and measure and use a ruler to help you get the parallel lines. Once you've done those 3, we can join them up, making sure these lines are parallel to the lines already drawn in the pentagon. Now, as an optional last step, we can get the lines around the back. So again, same method, pick each corner and draw those parallel diagonal lines. But this time, because we're going around the back, draw it as a dotted line. And then join those up to the corners. And so what we have now is a sketch of a pentagonal prism. And it's worth repeating the method for a prism, which includes cubes and cuboids. Draw the 2D shape that's referenced in the name. Then draw diagonal lines from every single corner that are parallel to each other and the same length. And then join up the end of those lines, and you'll get a 3D shape. Moving on to question 3, we now have a pyramid. Now, the trick with pyramid shapes, and like prisms, there's lots of different kinds of pyramid shapes, is to know the kind of base shape. Now, for pyramid, it's not clear in the name, but you think about your kind of classical pyramid, like the ones you get in ancient Egypt, they all have square bases. So you want to start off when you sketch a pyramid by drawing a square. Now we'll just see how this one goes. So you've got your parallel sides, all sides equal in length. Now with a pyramid, they all have to end at the same point. So it's going to be a little bit of a different method. So we're going to choose a spot above the shape to make the point. I'm going to draw a little dot there. And then it's just a matter of joining all of the corners of the shape to the dot. Use it with a ruler if possible. I'm doing it freehand. And what I've got now is a version of a pyramid. Now, what's missing here that isn't missing from my prism sketches is there's no perspective here. So it looks a little bit odd. Another thing that's missing is you can't really see which lines are at the front and which lines are at the back. Now, I can use a rubber just to rub out the lines that are around the back. And you should start to see the pyramid be a little bit clearer. And then what I can do now is, now I've rubbed those out, is put them back in with a dotted line. Now, I'm not satisfied with this diagram, so it might do for an exam. It's okay, shows off everything you need to show off, but let's try and do a version with some perspective. So we're still going to start off by drawing our square, but we're going to draw it at an angle. So I'm going to try and draw a square that's slanted. Now, you can see I've got all the parallel sides. You can see they're all the same length. The thing that's missing here that shouldn't be missing for a square is that the angles are not 90 degrees, and so this is not a square. From this angle, it looks more like a parallelogram. But it's okay, it's just a trick of perspective. So what we do now is we choose where the top's going to go, the point, and I'm going to join that point to every single corner. And what you should start to see now is this looks a lot more like your kind of classic pyramid picture, like you might have seen in real life with the Egyptian pyramids. But again, a little detail here, we're going to rub out the lines that go along the back. So we should be able to see the front face, which is a triangle. The side face is also a triangle. And this is the big key to drawing pyramids. Every single face is going to be a triangle, except for the base. And again, I'm now going to draw back in the inside lines, so you can see what's going on around the back. And we can see that the base of this shape has the four sides, the same four sides that a square would have. Again, it doesn't look like a square because of perspective, but you can see it's got four sides. But all the other sides are going to have three sides because of triangles. Now, moving on to question 4, we have a shape that's called a tetrahedron. And so this is a little bit abstract sounding, but a tetrahedron, you would have actually seen it before. And a tetrahedron, it is a kind of pyramid. Now, the pyramid we just drew has 4 sides on the base. Now, you can have pentagonal pyramids that have 5 sides on the base, hexagonal pyramids with 6 sides on the base. With a tetrahedron, it's a triangle-based pyramid, and that's the word you might have heard before for this. So when we're drawing a tetrahedron, we've memorized pyramid have a square base, tetrahedrons have a triangle base. So now I'm going to draw a triangle base. And again, I'm going to just draw it a little bit slanted, so you might normally draw an equilateral triangle, just to help the perspective. Once we've drawn the base shape, choose where the point to it's going to go. That should be above the shape, directly in the middle, and join it up to every corner. And a tetrahedron is a special case of a triangle-based pyramid where every single side is the same length. So the height really should be roughly the same as the width, which it isn't here. So what I'm going to do, and it's really useful to show you this, is if you do make a mistake, always draw it in pencil or something you can rub out, and just try again. So I'm going to draw the triangle again, because I'm not happy with what I just drew. And this time I'm going to put the peak a little bit lower so that all the sides are roughly the same length. So let's join up all 3 corners to that peak. And then that still looks messy because I've got the kind of lines around the back as well. So every single face should be a nice clean triangle that you can see. And then finally we'll draw the inside lines back in so we can see what's around the back, but they're going to be a dotted line. And so there I've got a tetrahedron. It is a triangle-based pyramid. All the sides are the same length. Again, when you see the word pyramid, it's on its own. It will have 4 sides on the base, a square base, but you can have pentagonal pyramids, which will have 5 sides, and so on. Moving on to the last shape now, we have a sphere. Now, we should have come across spheres before, and it's what you would call, using normal language, a kind of ball shape. But sphere is the kind of technical mathematical word for it. And the base shape for a sphere is going to be a circle. Now, it can be difficult to draw these freehand, so you could use something like the end of a Pritt stick, you could use your protractor if you want a particularly big circle, or you could use your compass for a really accurate one. Now, given these are sketches, I'm drawing these freehand. That's fine for a sketch. So I'm going to try and draw one freehand. Now, squared paper is good for this because what you can do is try and draw a circle inside one square or maybe inside 4 squares. And the more you try this, the more accurate you're going to get. And just try and use the kind of curve of your elbow when you kind of move in your pen. Now, I'm fairly happy with that actually, so I think I'll keep that. But a circle shape, it's going to be something where if it is freehand, you'll be rubbing it out quite a few times to try and get it just right. Now, this is a circle, it's not a sphere. So how do we show that this is 3D? Now, the way to do it is it doesn't have any corners, it doesn't have any lines you can draw on. It's a completely smooth shape. So the way to show it's 3D is to do a bit of shading. So I'm just going to take a kind of half moon shape on the sphere like this, and I'm just going to shade that in. And so what that shows is that if you look at the sphere and light shining on it, that part of the shape is going to be shaded in because the light is going to be from one direction. So some parts of the sphere will be lighter and some will be darker. So just showing that shading is just going to show that it's a 3D shape. Now, I wasn't very happy with my shading there. I think with pen it didn't look quite right. It would look okay in pencil. So I'll just rub that out and I'm going to show you another way to do the shading. And what you can do is just draw a little line. So a little line at the top. The lines are then getting a little bit bigger as you go down the sphere. And then they start to get smaller again as you get to the bottom. And so that's perhaps a less messy way to show the shading. But again, as I've just shown you, don't be scared to have a go, get it wrong and rub it out. I've left my mistakes in so you can see that process. There's absolutely nothing wrong with spending a little bit of time getting your sketches just right by just rubbing the whole thing out and trying again. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is finding faces, edges, and vertices of 3D shapes. So starting off, we're being asked, how many faces does a cuboid have? Now, in the easy questions, we discussed a cuboid being a kind of prism. And for prisms, always look at the kind of cross-sectional area first. That's the face, usually at the front. It's referenced in the name, so kind of for cuboid, we're talking about a shape made of squares. Next one's a hexagonal prism, so we have a hexagon at the front. Follow that in to show it. Hexagon shape goes all the way through the shape to the back. We have another hexagon face. And next we have a dodecagonal prism, which has 12 sides as a front face. Again, those 12 sides run all the way through the shape, and you have another identical 12-sided shape at the back end of the prism. So when we're talking about a prism, we have 2 faces that look like the face at the front. Now, next, the front and back faces are joined up, and they're joined up by other faces. So on the cuboid, I'm just highlighting one of those in green. And it's only on one side of the square that you can see at the front. So we have one more face linking the front and back faces together. Then underneath it, on a second side of the square, we can see another face going back. Now, that means that every single side of that front face has a face joined onto it going towards the back. So in a cuboid, it has 4 sides. So there are 4 faces going back. And so how many faces does a cuboid have? It has 2, the front and back, and the 4 joining the 4 sides of the square between the front and the back. So 2 plus 4 is 6. Doing the same thing with a hexagonal prism, we can see that the top side of the hexagon has a face joined onto it. The kind of diagonal side here has another face. There's another diagonal side underneath that's got another face. And so we've done 1, 2, 3 sides of the hexagon. So we'd have 4, 5, and 6. We'd have more faces around the back. So in a hexagonal prism, you've got these 6 faces joining the 6-sided hexagons together. And then we've got the front and back hexagon themselves. So 2 plus 6 is 8. So for the dodecagonal prism, it is a 12-sided shape at the front. So there are going to be 12 faces joining the 12 sides of the dodecagon at the front to the dodecagon at the back. So those 12 plus the front and back will give us 12 plus 2, which is 14 faces. Now, if we move on, let's have a quick look at the questions. Question 2 was, how many faces does a hexagonal prism have? So 8's the right answer. But then question 3 isn't asking you for the number of faces, which is 14. It's actually asking for edges. And so finding edges of prisms is a kind of similar skill. So the edges are just the sides of the shape. And if we look at a dodecagon that has 12 sides, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sides around the front. And if you think about it as well, the back would be the same. The back is also a dodecagon. So if 12 sides at the front, you have 12 sides at the back. So we have 24 sides. Then we have the sides joining the dodecagon at the front and the back together. So we can see on the diagram, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can see 6, but that's going to go all the way around. And there's going to be one of those for every single corner on a dodecagon. And it's got 12 corners. So we're going to have another 12 sides going all the way to the back. Now, the ones I've not labelled on the diagram, just count them up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are corresponding to the dodecagon at the back, which we already counted up. So we have the 12 at the front that are fully visible. We have 12 at the back, which are partially visible, and the 12 around the middle, which are partially visible. So 12 plus 12 plus 12 is going to give us 36 edges on a dodecagon prism. So again, for prisms, it's all about looking at that cross-sectional face, the ones of coloured in blue, that go all the way through the shape. Find out how many sides that has. For faces, you want that many sides plus 2 for the front and back faces. But for edges, you want that many sides multiplied by 3 for the front face, the back face, and then linking together between the two faces. You could also be asked for how many vertices a prism has. And vertices is just a plural of vertex, and vertex means corner. So if we were to count up the corners of these prisms, the cuboid's got 8 corners. It's got 4 on the front face and 4 on the back face. Hexagonal prism has got 12 vertices, 6 on the front face, 6 on the back face. So again, it's all about looking at that cross-sectional shape and know the number of sides it has. Now, moving on to question 4, how many faces does a pyramid have? So this is a little bit different to prisms, but again, it's all about finding that kind of base shape. And a pyramid is a square base. Unless it says otherwise, pyramids are going to have a square base. So it's called in the base of the shape, and that is one face. There isn't another side like there might be with a prism where you have kind of a front and back being the same. There's only one of the base shape in a pyramid. Now, the next thing to look at are the triangles around the outside. And similar to a prism, there's going to be one of these for every single side of the base shape. So if a pyramid has a square base, there's going to be one triangle for each side of the square. So that'll be 4. And 4 plus 1 is 5. Pyramid has 5 faces. Now, the next pyramid is a pentagonal pyramid. It's a pentagon-based pyramid. I'm just colouring again in blue the kind of base of this pyramid. And again, that's going to be one face. So how many faces does it have altogether? Well, a pentagon has got 5 sides, so there'll be 5 triangles around this to join up to the peak of the pyramid. So 5 sides plus the 1 base, that gives us 6 faces for a pentagonal pyramid. But it's not asking for how many faces, it's asking for how many vertices, how many corners. So let's highlight the corners. It's got a pentagon base. That means a 5-sided shape is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners. And then pyramids are really easy. You only have one more corner, and it's the kind of peak of the pyramid. Is a last corner. So again, we have the 5 around the base. We have 1 extra for the peak. How many vertices does it have? It has 6 vertices. 1 plus 5 is 6. And for pyramids, that's the same as the number of faces. So again, for all of these, it's impossible usually to kind of draw on all the corners, all the faces, colour in the edges, because some of them go around the back and they're not visible. So if you use a little bit of logic, and it's all about identifying the kind of base shape, the front and back shape for the prisms, and the base shape for the pyramids, and then going from there, because the number of sides that has is linked to the number of faces, edges, and vertices. Now, the last thing we're going to look at for 3D shapes are sketching plan, front, and side views. So a plan view, which we'll do for the first question, is when you're looking at the shape from above. So if you imagine your eye line, your eye is looking directly down at the shape. Then we have the front view. Now the front view is when you're looking from the front of the shape. And the side view is when you're looking from the side Now I put an arrow in from the left side, but you can also have a view from the right side as well. Now, what do I mean by looking at it from these different directions? So with a plan view, when you're looking from above, I'm just going to colour in the parts of the shape you'll be able to see from above. So you'll be able to see the very, very top of the shape, and you'll be able to see the side joining onto it as well. There'll be one of those on the left and one of those on the right. Now in pink, I'm going to colour in things you can't see. You can't see the front face. From above, if you're right above it, you won't be able to see it. And you can't see faces that are kind of underneath faces you can see as well. Now with a front view, you're going to be able to see the shape I'm colouring in blue. You will see the very front of the shape, but what you're not going to be able to see is everything all around the sides. Things at the top, things at the bottom, you're not going to be able to see any of these bits. And finally, with a side view, you're not going to be able to see the front of the shape. Now the question's asking from the right-hand side, so from the right-hand side, you're going to be able to see everything on the right. What you're not going to be able to see is that when the shape kind of turns around the kind of circle of the shape, and starts to go back around, you're not going to be able to see things on the other side around the back. So a good first step is try and shade in the parts of the shape that you think you're going to be able to see from that direction. And even draw a little eye on the page like I have, draw the arrow. This helps you visualise from which direction you are coming from. Now, with the first question, let's get the plan view of a hexagonal prism. We're going to draw the kind of blue shaded in sections we found. So the first one, right at the top, I'm just going to go in this in green to show you. This is a rectangle. Now, again, it looks like a parallelogram. We have perspective involved here, so this would be a rectangle. And in a prism, all of the sides going around the edge are actually rectangles. So I'm going to draw a rectangle, parallel sides, and parallel sides on the other side as well. So I've done the middle one. Now, to the right of it, there is another rectangle. Now, while this is at an angle, when we actually draw that, what we can do is we're going to draw it right next to it, and we can represent the angle by just showing it being a little bit shorter. And that just represents, like, from above, we kind of don't see the full width of it, because it's at a slant, the width actually appears to be a little bit shorter, like I've just drawn. So I've drawn that one. Now, what you would have now is you would have another one on the left-hand side as well. So I've done the one on the right, we have one on the left. Now, you can't see that on the diagram, but it's important to understand that it's there. So directly from above, we have the middle rectangle at full size. The rectangles that kind of go around the prism, they're going to be a little bit shorter to the left and to the right. And you should have the same amount on both sides. So that is a plan view. Moving on to question 2, we have a front view of a pentagonal prism. And so we're going to draw the shape we have in blue. And we only have one. And front views are normally the easiest because the way it's actually drawn out is closer to a front view than anything else. There shouldn't be anything hidden from you. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So I'm going to sketch out a 5-sided shape. It does look like a regular pentagon. So I'm going to try and get these as close to being the same width as possible. It'll be roughly the same size. And so there's my front view of a pentagonal prism. Again, I've sketched it, but you could use a ruler and try and get this to be a little bit neater, a little bit more accurate. Next, we have the side view of a non-agonal prism. Now that is a 9-sided shape at the front. If we have a look at what we've highlighted in blue, we can see that we've got these rectangles. Now we've got a rectangle that we're highlighting in green. And we can start off by drawing that, so let's get one of them drawn out. So we've got the parallel sides, the top and bottom, and the left and right. Don't worry too much about the width of this or the length, as long as it looks roughly like the one you've got on your diagram. Now we can see that there's another one above, so let's draw that. And it's going to be, it's a little bit angled away, so it's going to appear a little bit smaller from that side. Then we have the one below, so let's draw that. Again, making sure everything's nice and parallel. Use a ruler to help you. And it looks like that might be it. But we have a look at this shape, we can kind of see that the ones around the back are slanting downwards. And then this is kind of slanting inwards. But if you think about it, you're actually going to be able to see this side here is going to be slightly visible. So we are going to have that. And if you think about your eye line is going to be drawn to kind of the very centre that I've just labelled there. So actually, when you're looking at this from the right-hand side, you're going to have 2 rectangles at either side of that line that are going to be the same size. So you have 2 rectangles in the middle of your field of vision. And you'll just shade those 2 in so you can see really clearly what I'm talking about. Then the one above, I've already drawn, a little bit smaller, and there'll be the one below as well. And so from the side, you're going to be able to see about 4 of the 9 sides of the organ. So So it should sort of look something a little bit like that I've just drawn. Now moving on to the pyramids, or the plan view of a tetrahedron. Now don't worry about drawing that out, they'll be drawn for you when being asked to do these. And a plan view is looking from above. It might be helpful to think about first what you can't see. And looking from above, you're not going to be able to see the base of the shape. It's on the floor, it's going to be visible to you. What you are going to be able to see are the kind of slanted edges. And it's going to be all three of them around the outside of the shape. So what is it that you draw? If you think about being directly above a pyramid, the thing right in the centre of your field of view is going to be the peak of the pyramid. So the first thing to do is to draw a little dot just to remind you of where the very, very top of the pyramid is. Now, all sides of pyramids are triangles, and a tetrahedron is a triangle-based pyramid, so it's going to have 4 triangles around the outside. Now, the easy way to do this is that while you can't see the base, you're going to be able to see where all the sides join onto the base. So in blue, I'm just highlighting the 3 sides of the base, and you are going to be able to see these. So this is the best thing to draw first. So I'm going to draw the 3 sides of the base, making sure that the peak of my pyramid is around about in the middle of those. And it's not in the middle, so let's just put that a little bit further down. Again, using a pencil and rubber to help you if you feel like you made some mistakes. So we've drawn the peak of the pyramid, we've drawn the outline of the base that we can't see, and now all we need to do is join the peak up to the corners. And as I draw this, what you'll be able to see now is that I have the 3 triangles around the outside. So I can see all 3 sides of the triangle-based pyramid, and we can see the outline of the base, although we can't see the base itself. If we did a plan view of the octagonal pyramid, we use the same method. We will draw the peak of the pyramid in the center, and we draw an outline of an octagon around that peak. Then we join that middle point to all the corners of the octagon, and we should end up with 8 triangles showing the 8 sides of the octagonal pyramid. However, it's asking us for a side view of the octagonal pyramid, and it's asking for it from the right. So think about what would be visible from that direction. So you'd be able to see some of the triangular sides, and you'd be able to see all the ones on your side and the ones around the back, but you wouldn't be able to see the ones at the back of your field of vision, which I'm colouring in pink. So we can only draw the green ones. And if you think about kind of where your vision's going to be, the 2 green ones we can see will be to one side of you, and there'll be another 2 to the other side. So we're going to need 4 triangles. Now, just like the plan views, the first thing to do is to draw the peak of the pyramid. Do a little dot for the peak of the pyramid. And then we're going to have the 2 triangles we can see there. That would be to our left. So let's draw a line down and then just come out slightly, and we have our first triangle. Then for the next triangle, again from the point, come down, and again it should join on at a little bit of an angle to the previous triangle. And then if we've done the 2 that we can see from the front, there'll be 2 at the back that you would also be able to see from the side. Just make sure it's nice and symmetrical for the other 2 sides. And again, it's a sketch, just get as close as you can. If you think about it being an octagonal pyramid with 8 triangles around the outside, it stands to reason you're able to see half of them, the 4 on your side, but the 4 around the back you wouldn't be able to see. So there's a side view of the pyramid. So there's a lot of logic involved in questions like this, but basically, if you're looking at prisms, you're going to be thinking about rectangles coming around the outside of the shape. So you're likely drawing rectangles, unless it's a front view, where you'll have the cross-sectional shape. And for pyramids, you have triangles going around the outside of the shape, and you have the peak of the shape as well. And so they'll be the first things to draw for you.